Michelle is a nurse practitioner who specializes in oncology and has a special interest in exercise and nutrition. Michelle?
Thank you. Good morning. So I spoke at this event 2 years ago, and the thing I remember the most is how much in awe I was of standing here in front of such a courageous and strong group of people. So I am truly honored to be here again today. Thank you. And I get the topic that nobody likes to hear about, exercise and nutrition. It's a tricky one, you know, and again I was thinking, how am I going to open this? What am I going to say? And I decided that I really have a love-hate relationship with this topic. And then when I looked at my notes from 2 years ago, I realized I pretty much said the same thing. So I guess there's something to be said for consistency. I love food. I love exercise, actually. But it's a lot of responsibility because you have sole control over what you put into your body and the exercise, the activity that you expose it to. And there are a lot of times when the couch and the cookies are calling my name, and it's tough to say no to them. But today I hope to remind myself and the audience of why it's important to say no to the couch, no to the cookies, and yes to some spandex and some exercise, which also explains my outfit. I figured I'd start by saying yes and putting on spandex in front of 100 people. But we know that weight gain is a common occurrence in adjuvant treatment for early stage breast cancer. In fact, it occurs in anywhere from 50 to 96% of women. Weight gains average anywhere from about 5 to 13 pounds, but studies have found that gains of 22 pounds are not unusual. We also know that weight gain has been associated with a decreased survival. In addition, those who don't gain weight do have adverse body composition changes with an overall increase in body fat mass, which we're finding is really one of the most important things as far as diet and exercise goes. It's really the body fat mass that we carry. In general, we also know that women decrease their activity level for the reasons Dr. Savan talked about. Metabolic changes, energy changes, we can blame the chemo, we can blame a whole bunch of different things, but all of those contribute to decreasing activity by about 30% or 2.5 hours per week, which is quite a bit. So I do think it's really important for survivors to know that the role that exercise and nutrition can play in survivorship and decreasing risk of recurrence. So let's look at some studies. All right. So we have the WIN study, which is the Women's Intervention Nutrition Study. In this study, they asked the intervention group to decrease their fat intake to less than 15% of their total calories. The outcome was that after 5 years, this intervention group had a 24% lower risk of breast cancer than the control group. In addition, this group lost an average of about 6 pounds. The Women's Healthy Eating and Living Study, the WHEEL study, asked women to increase their intake of fruits and vegetables. It was an isocaloric study, so that means that they didn't have to decrease their total caloric intake, just increase fruits and veggies, and they were asked to participate in moderate intensity physical activity, which was about the equivalent of walking 30 minutes a day, 6 days a week. They found in that study that the survival advantage in those who were physically active was that they were 50% more likely to survive 10 years, which is pretty significant. And the HEAL study. The HEAL study took women 1 year pre, 2 years post-diagnosis of early-stage breast cancer. It found that women who participated in moderate intensity activity had a 64% lower risk of death compared to inactive women. In addition, women who decreased their physical activity after diagnosis were 4 times more likely to do worse than active women. So when I was preparing for this, I picked Tinrin's brain. I'm sure many of you, probably all of you, know Tinrin. She's absolutely the guru on nutrition in my mind. And basically what she said in regards to nutrition, we really don't know much more than what we did 2 years ago. The bottom line is really reduction of caloric intake to achieve or maintain a healthy weight, a healthy BMI, really seems to be the most important factor. She also talked about the fact that it looks like decreasing fat intake and focusing on a plant-based diet is beneficial. Ongoing studies are looking at epigenetics and cancer. Epigenetics is defined as the heritable changes in gene expression not associated with alterations in DNA sequence. She said that there are many unanswered questions about the role that food plays in gene expression and changes in gene expression that may modify cancer risk, but that the studies are suggesting moving towards a plant-based diet can or may recondition our cellular environment. It may decrease inflammation, and it may improve immune function, all of which can help modify cancer risk. If you guys have more questions about that, I would absolutely refer you to Tinrin because she talks really fast, and that's pretty much what I could get out of it. So, in regards to exercise, there have been several observational studies that have shown clearly that higher levels of physical activity, both before and after a cancer diagnosis, are associated with improved prognosis in breast cancer patients. The magnitude of benefit in breast cancer population may be as high as 50%. The implication is that if we have 10 young women who are destined to relapse with recurrent breast cancer and all exercised adequately, only 5 would relapse. The next study I want to talk about is the new study. This is the Nutrition and Exercise in Women study. This study took women who didn't have a diagnosis of breast cancer, but they were obese and they were inactive, and it randomized them to 4 groups. There was the control group, there was the diet alone group, the exercise alone, and the diet plus exercise intervention group. And their goal was to try and achieve a 10% or greater weight loss. 1 year into the study, it looks clearly that the exercise and intervention group has not only achieved, but even exceeded those goals. And you can look at it by the 3 columns. They measured weight, body fat, waist circumference, and BMI. In the diet and exercise group, they had an 11% change in weight, a 21% change in body fat. Again, we really think that that's a key factor in decreasing risk of recurrence and what our diet and our exercise should focus on. A 7% change in waist circumference, which is significant too because, as possibly many of you know, postmenopausal weight gain is often in the belly and in the waist area. And an 11% change in BMI. The diet alone and the exercise alone groups also had some benefits, some changes, but clearly not as much as diet and exercise combined. I also mentioned at the beginning, I did speak about this topic 2 years ago, and when I was looking at what has changed in the studies as far as studies on physical activity and exercise, one of the things that I found is they're really starting to look at, or looking more in depth at, how physical activity alters the biologic mechanisms that affect risk of breast cancer. And a recent study that was actually presented at the symposium that Dr. Savan was at found that physical activity can obviously decrease body fat. It can affect insulin resistance and sex hormones. In regards to body fat, reducing body fat lowers adipokines, it decreases our inflammatory markers, it decreases estrogens and testosterone. In regards to insulin resistance, physical activity improves insulin sensitivity and decreases glucose levels since we have a decrease in body fat and an increase in skeletal muscle. And finally, in regards to sex hormones, physical activity in postmenopausal women, decreasing the body fat lowers the aromatase levels in the adipose tissue and can lower estrogen, estradiol, and testosterone synthesis. So some examples of physical activity that's considered at moderate intensity. We have walking briskly, and that isn't panning for gold. It's actually supposed to say golf up there. And you have to either carry or pull your clubs. You don't get to put them in the cart. Recreational swimming, mowing the lawn, doubles tennis, bicycling at a rate of 5 to 9 miles per hour, scrubbing floors or washing windows. Woo! We're all going to sign up for that one. Weightlifting, either using machine or free weights, and yoga or hiking. They also found that of those, it really looks like we get the most benefit from household activities, boo, and recreational activities. Let's see, I just lost my place. Bear with me. So, in regards to physical activity, there have been tons of studies, and there's no way that I can review all of them right here. So, I just wanted to kind of summarize the benefits of physical activity. We definitely know that physical activity can improve quality of life. Believe it or not, it can improve fatigue. As Dr. Savan talked about, during treatment, post, people do have a lot of fatigue that they're struggling with, and physical activity can actually improve that. Women reported more positive attitudes about sexual attractiveness and overall improved mood states. In addition, if we add some resistance training, and for those of you who have talked to me about exercise, you know I love resistance training. It can improve cardiorespiratory fitness, body composition, and can increase our lean tissue mass and decrease fat mass, and may specifically promote loss of fat inside the abdominal cavity. And finally, we know that physical activity of 150 to 250 minutes per week can, in fact, prevent weight gain and promote modest weight loss. I think I got my slides mixed up. Let me see. All right, so in addition, when we talk about those moderate paced activities, we can also look at how can we change it up to make it even more beneficial, to really make it count. And studies looked at varying intensity, duration, and the timing. In regards to intensity, if we can increase that moderate paced activity to a vigorous paced activity, we can get about a 3% benefit in risk reduction. This study was done in women who hadn't been diagnosed, but I think that we can really take the key ideas of intensity, duration, and timing and translate them into the survivorship population. In addition, duration. If we increase our physical activity from a 2 to 3 hour time frame per week to 6.5 hours or more, we can actually provide an additional 21% benefit in risk reduction. And finally, timing. Those who exercise throughout their lifetime were found to have the most benefit from it. However, it was also found that women 50 years or greater had almost double the benefit than women in their 20s. So it's definitely not too late to introduce exercise into our lifestyle. So, to bring it all together, what do we know? In regards to diet, it really looks like decreasing our fat intake and really moving towards more plant-based foods can help with weight loss, and that the plant-based diet may help with a modification of gene expression, which may in turn modify our breast cancer risk. Weight loss and maintaining a healthy BMI clearly decreases our risk of breast cancer and significantly reduces our risk of recurrence. Exercise can lead to weight loss and a decrease in body fat and help to maintain a healthy weight. In addition, exercise also affects insulin resistance and sex hormones and decreases risk of breast cancer and risk of recurrence. So the bottom line is that we really need to get moving, and at minimum 40 minutes of moderate paced activity a day. And then the last thing I wanted to leave you guys with, because 2 years ago somebody said, well, where am I going to find someone who's going to help me achieve this? So this is a list of resources within the community. And they are familiar, these people are familiar with some of the challenges and the concerns that breast cancer survivors face when they're trying to introduce or reintroduce or increase exercise to achieve these goals. Betsy is at the top of our list, and she's going to be speaking next, so I won't go into too much of what she does, but she's a licensed occupational therapist and uses an integrative medicine approach for yoga. The cancer support community, Margaret actually already talked to you guys, and she mentioned everything I was going to say about that. The Absolute Center is located in Lafayette, and they offer Pilates, yoga, core alignment, and reconditioning. They've got a lot of great programs. Melinda offers a program called the Smart Body, which is a somatic movement therapy that integrates touch, talk, and movement. She is a certified Pilates teacher, but she also is certified in a program called Movement for Life, which is actually a program specifically designed for people recovering from an illness. And then finally, Vicki Hurst, she's local also. She's a licensed physical therapist. She teaches Pilates, and she's also a certified lymphedema specialist. So I've provided you the tools, the resources. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and I wish you guys all good luck.